Welcome to Born to Be Barefoot. I'm your host, Stuart Gordon, with my co-host, Katie Tsuyuki. So welcome to the co-host introduction to Born to Be Barefoot podcast. My name's Stuart Gordon. I'm co-hosting this exciting new podcast with a young lady called Katie Tsuyuki, who's a former Olympic snowboarder from Canada, currently residing in New Zealand. So I'm going to ask Katie a few questions and find out how she got involved in this. And then we're going to do a quick turnaround and she's going to do the same for me. So Katie, hi, how are you?
Hi, Stuart. I'm well, thank you very much.
Good. So we got roped into this, unsuspecting suspects that we were. So tell me, what's your background? How did you come to get to be invited to co-host this podcast?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be introduced to Barefoot Science when I was still competing. And I met Lance Todd, who is the owner and main guy in Barefoot Science. He's a great team. But and so Lance and I hit it off, loved his product, and thought that he had good vision and liked the business and stuff. And so I kind of got involved selling Barefoot Science once I was finished snowboarding. And I guess Lance took me to some horse and pony shows, like some I think we went to a podiatry one, and he just liked the way how I sold Barefoot Science.
Yeah. I talked to him. I asked him about that the other day, funnily enough, and he said, went to some conference, he said, and everybody was saying, because you had to go apparently, and everyone was going, where's Katie? Everyone wanted to talk to you again. So
it was like the next one or something like that. Yeah.
So let's go track back a little bit from that. So obviously you came across Barefoot Science, but your background, you're a snowboarder, yeah? So how did you get into snowboarding? What's your background of that? Tell us a little bit about your sporting background and where you come from.
Oh, we come from a sporty family. Water skiing was where my snowboarding stemmed from, believe it or not. People ask me, did you dream about going to the Olympics when you were a kid? And I was like, no, I didn't want to go to the Olympics. I went to, back in the day, SeaWorld used to have a water ski show, and they used to do these massive water ski pyramids, like 5, 6 layers high and stuff. And so I was like, no, I wanted to be the girl on top of the water ski pyramid holding the flag. So water skiing, I started wakeboarding, and then from wakeboarding, I started snowboarding. But then snowboarding was more organized. Mm-hmm. And the Olympics was on the horizon and came about, and I never really had my target from a young age, but I kind of stumbled upon it through meeting some really good coaches and whatnot. So
did you compete in, because snowboard is relatively new to the Olympics, isn't it? So were you in it on the first year it was in the Olympics?
No, the first year I was in the Olympics was 1993.
Oh, cracky, right, okay.
92, 93, one of those.
Okay. So it's been in it longer than I thought then, right? Okay. So when did you get involved? What was your first Olympic year?
First one was really Vancouver. I went as alternate, and so did a few Vancouver, Sochi, and Pyeongchang. Right. So did kind of a few of them. Olympic cycles, because people just kind of, I'm sure they don't just think that you show up at the Olympics and it's there, but Olympic athletes and coaches and whatnot think of it as the 4-year cycles, as you can imagine. That's the 4 years in between. So when you're looking at young athletes and everything, you kind of are keeping that in mind. Which Olympic cycle are they going to be on? Which are they trained to win, trained to compete? Where are they in Canada, we call it the long-term athlete development plan. I'm sure each country has their own version of it, and they're pretty similar. But so did a few Olympic cycles, and then came out of sport, and got to carry on doing marketing things and being involved with Barefoot Science. But really, it's Lance. If anyone meets Lance, who's the head of the company, he's amazing. he's great. So it's fun to still be involved with Barefoot Science.
That's great. I'm going to go wind back a fraction. You mentioned something about the long-term thing, but the theme of the podcast we're looking at, we want to get guests on, and we've come up with a few ideas, and some of the Barefoot Science people and the podcast people have come up with some great guests that we're going to be interviewing. One of the principles of the podcast is called Born to be Barefoot, and there's an obvious connection there, but we're also looking about finding people who are doing activities and doing them for life. They want to keep going long term. And obviously, one of the things that prevents long term is injury. So can you give us a little bit? I mean, you obviously in your Olympic career, it's pretty tough training. I'm guessing there were a few knocks and a few bumps and a few bruises. Is that how you came across getting involved with Barefoot Science as an athlete?
Yeah, I had some injuries going on, as every athlete does. And I did get in touch with, or I had a trainer suggest that I put these Barefoot Science insoles in my shoes because of kind of a hip injury, I believe that it was at the time. I had a nagging hip injury. And then, yeah, kind of went on from there. But I did get more injured, and then I met up, Barefoot Science hooked me up with great sports scientists such as Scott, and I've gone down to go see the doc down in New York, but some really good assets and helping me, as you say, stay in the longevity of it and continue to do sports well into my my old, I shouldn't say old age, but I was definitely one of the older athletes on the World Cup start list.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because in Fest they actually show all of your ages, or not ages, but like the year that you're born. So you're like looking down the start list, and you're like, oh wow,
different
82.
decade.
Holy cow, 100%.
Oh wow! So, but you're still out there snowboarding regularly now?
Yeah, I'm one of the only maybe 40 plus that will go to the half pipe. Maybe like if I can work it 2 to 3 times a week if it's running, because it's only up for a certain amount of time, so it's not like you gotta go while it's there. But I'm the only one, because I was around before we had PAMAs, or like rope tows right on the side of the half pipe. So when the rope tow shuts down and the line gets too long, I'll start hiking. I'm like the only one, and they're like, "Oh, there's Katie hiking again." Yeah, and then parents are like, "Katie can do it. You get up there and you do it too." And then after a few laps, there's like more and more kids joining in. Parents use me, or coaches use me excuse like, "Go on, if she can do it, you can do it."
Are you still flipping some tricks? What are you doing? How crazy are you? Come on, be honest.
Yeah, I had a baby in 2020, so ever since then, it's been you have to get off your birth weight, and then you have like all this vertigo, and you're super sleep deprived. And I'd be like last year I'd be training and hiking pipe and be like, okay, this is the one I'm gonna do, just like a flat spin rotation or something, like what we call a 540, which when you look at it, it looks like a 360. It looks like the person only does one complete rotation, but in the half pipe, if you go up one and down one wall, it's already considered a 180. Okay. So I don't know if that makes any sense. The way how fall lines go and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna do a 5. I'm gonna do a 5, and just like would go flying across the half pipe, because it's a 22-foot half pipe. So it's that's 7 meters. And you have to go like really fast to get out of it. Like when you haven't ridden pipe for a while, you get in there, you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I have to go like really fast to get it. So you're like going as fast as you can, holding on by the seat of your pants, going from wall to wall. You haven't done this in a while either. And then you're supposed to like air out of the pipe and do a trick. So I wasn't there last season. I just did straight airs, what we call them. But just the other day, I actually did a backside 5. And then land and cross the pipe and to a frontside 5. And then it wasn't at all pretty, but I was happy.
Was there a crowd there cheering you on to see this afterwards?
Yeah. I did, because I still know a lot of my friends who are athletes are now coaching, and they're, I mean, I guess they'd be at the pipe with me, but they're working. But yeah, my one friend from Korea was like, Katie, I didn't think you could still do that.
So, yeah. Oh, that sounds brilliant. So you could be a whole podcast series on your own. We could talk about elite performance. We could talk about injuries. We could talk about recovery. We could talk about longevity of keeping going, enthusiasm. My God, you actually sum up the whole essence. Yeah, but you sum up the essence of what this whole podcast series is about. Talking to people, getting some fun, hearing what their stories are, and analyzing injuries, talking about ways they've got over the injuries. You are the perfect case study. But let's cancel the rest of the podcast series and just talk to you for the next 20 hours. Anyway, that's brilliant. So what's your plan? Where are you going in life? I mean, obviously you're doing this podcast. You're down in New Zealand now, I believe.
Yeah, down in New Zealand. My husband and I just got into our first family home. Mm-hmm. And built it during COVID. So it was a reason to kind of get locked down. And because we were going back and forth kind of between Canada and after I retired from sport, my husband said, "Oh, Kim, I'm really over doing winter," because he followed me for the last little bit there and came and helped me. And so he's like, "Can we go summers to summer?" So I'm like, "Hey, I'm all over going to summers because I don't know how I ended up as a winter athlete, because I love being in my bikini and barefoot, being outside on the water and stuff like that." So, and so we were going summers to summer. So it was good to kind of have an excuse to stop and build your house. We have a son now, so we got a little family. So build your house. So we've been in New Zealand now for about a year and a half, and I haven't been back home to Canada, but I'm looking forward to coming home soon.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good stuff. Yeah. So in the future, are you going to sort of alternate between the two, or are you going to be mainly one or t'other?
In a perfect world, I don't know, kids and school, but now homeschooling's a thing, correspondence. So we just don't know. Stuart, you just don't know what the world's going to hand out to you. So, we make plans, but I'm sure after the past few years, most people don't hold on too tightly to plans anymore.
That's for sure, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, the fact that the interesting thing about our podcast, of course, is from a time perspective, is that we've had to figure out how we can schedule these podcast sessions. So today, for our purpose of interviewing each other, you are now in the evening. Yeah. What's the time for you now?
We're at 9:24 in the evening.
Yeah. And it's now, 10:23 here in the UK. So I think we're going to have to be interviewing a lot of our guests. You're going to be early morning, aren't you? And I'm going to be late evening, the other way around. So you've got to get up. There's 2 other
time zones involved too.
Yeah,
we got Utah, Ontario, Canada.
So we're going to have to ask our guests to be pretty understanding about the time differences, and we'll fit in with us. And I'm sure they'll be fine with that. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yes, this is going to be an amazing show, and I'm really excited for all of the guests that we're going to be able to meet and interview and pick their brains about, and probably have them back because, we only have an hour. So,
yeah. I mean, you mentioned a guy a minute ago called Scott. He's one of our guests. I've actually met Scott. He came over to the UK when I first got involved with Barefoot Science. And the guy's just a font of knowledge. He's very similar to the way he works to me, but he uses a few more things. So I'm really looking forward to hearing or to getting involved with that podcast. And there's a few other people I think we've got some shared experiences with. So it's going to be great fun. Some old reunions, some friendly reunions as well. Okay, that's great stuff. Well, I think it's wonderful having you as a co-host. I'm going to try and live up to your sporting excellence with my rather dull historical existence. I'm an old guy now. So if you want to ask me anything, just fire away. If I can stay awake long enough to answer, I will.
You've been listening to the Born to Be Barefoot podcast with myself, Katie Tsuyuki, and the wonderful Stuart Gordon. Please remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star review. We'll see you guys next week.